Good morning, or early afternoon from me. Still kind of waking up though. I was remembering a memory of me. I'm not sure how old I am. Old enough to go out and play by myself. Old enough to go out with friends. To the neighborhoods and parks and stuff like that. Old enough that I didn't need parental supervision. And I was playing with this kid, and we were basically taking turns, like, spraying each other with a hose and, laughing like fools and stuff like that, having a good time. And he was spraying me, and I started to run, and he, like, aimed the hose at my eyes. And I was even kind of aware that, like, he was maintaining, like, hose to eye contact, which hadn't happened so far when we were playing. And the reason why he was doing it is I was running right towards a pile of lava rock. I don't know if you know that, like, pumice, that red stone that's all super porous and crazy sharp. I could hear anger in my voice even as I'm saying it. Went fucking right into that lava rock, cut the shit out of my shins. And I was just done. I'm like, obviously I need to be cleaned up, and I need Band-Aids and whatnot, and just extreme pain. And later, like, I don't know how much later, like, he wanted to play again, and I'm like, hey, you remember when we were playing with the hose? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, remember how you were spraying that in my eyes? And I said, yeah. And he was like laughing, like it was a happy memory for him. I'm like, were you doing that so I couldn't see? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, because I was running towards the lava rock? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, so I can't play with you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you intentionally, injured me. Like, that was extremely painful. I bled all over the place, and that really hurt. And he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. And I'm like, oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the apology. He's like, so we can play now? I'm like, no. He's like, why not? I'm like, because you hurt me, like, really badly. And he's like, well, I promise I'll never do something like that again. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to promise that. You should not have to promise not to cause someone extreme pain ever again. End of story. But the thing is, like, as a kid, I didn't really get an opportunity to watch other kids or even adults socialize. Not very much. And not enough to really, like, get an understanding of, like, what's the deal, like, you go out, you play rough with your friends. One friend gets a little bit too rough. You respond in such a way to put a fucking end to that, and then you go play again. And that's what you learn as a kid. When you're out, like, skateboarding or playing on the monkey bars or whatever. It's like, sometimes people get hurt, sometimes people do something stupid. They're little kids that have, like, awful judgment. But that's what you learn. I didn't learn that. Like, what I learned is that if someone hurt me, that was just it. That was the end. Which leads you to a life like I've got, like a solitary life with very few people in it. And I was thinking about that, as it's not necessarily a very good thing, and that I would have developed different skills if I had learned those, if those lessons had been taught to me. So, I didn't have the lesson about hitting the rocks. Like, there was no lesson there. Like, the lesson would be me watching other kids or other adults have problems in their relationships, and then like accepting that sometimes people do stupid stuff and you get past it and they apologize. They'll never do it again. And if they don't, then that situation's over. That situation's solved. Like, that relationship has improved. Like, you shouldn't have to say, don't make sure that you don't let me run onto lava rocks. But you know what? You shouldn't have to say a lot of things, and like a lot of things just happen in life. A lot of people's judgment gets really bad. My judgment many times in life has just been awful, and I'm not an awful person. I just made stupid calls, and learned from it. And like, that's the thing. Like, I'm willing, mostly, I could be kind of hard on myself, but I'm willing to grow from my mistakes. Say like, oh, Earl, you're never going to do that again. But hearing that from someone else, I'm like, I don't think so. Because like I'm overprotective of myself, to in some cases to my detriment. It's like, I was thinking, like, because I spend so much time by myself, I often don't get something simple. Like, I remembered once not too long ago, and I know I was sad, but I'd gone like a couple days without eating, and I didn't realize it. Like, it's not that I was skipping meals, I didn't realize I wasn't eating. And someone else would be like, you know, if I was around anybody, they're like, you know, like, something seems off, you know, like, what's going on? And like, when was the last time you ate? And I'm like, Jesus, I don't know, a couple days ago. And they're like, Jesus, let's get you something to eat. I think that the realization of this that just hit me is kind of the answer. It's like, I don't think it's going to change me from being a hermit, but like, realizing it is an answer. Like, I know that I didn't have, there were kids like moving around, or there's like a lot of different things that changed in my life, or things that happened in my life that pulled me out of social groups. So I was always, in many cases, new to communities of kids, and my parents didn't have friends really. Like, I know, yes, they did, but it wasn't like, it wasn't a big part of their lives. They both came from big families, and I think that what they learned from being in big families actually was a lot of I think they had a lot of protective mannerisms about themselves. And so I guess that's what I learned. I learned all these protective things, but not what to protect myself from. So like, when things happened, I'm like, well, this is one of those things I need to protect myself from, you know, and just like cut off my friendship with that one particular kid. I think I told the story too about this. Oh, yeah. There's other kids that just treated me bad, and then like, when I stood up for myself, I'm like, hey man, I don't want to play with the broken toys. You know, like, if I'm your guest, like, it seems to me that you would like at least give me like a toy that works, instead of like, where are the broken toys? You could play with these. Like, I don't want to play with your trash. Why would you invite me over to play with your trash? You know, like, but that was a kid thing. It was a kid power move. I didn't know that. Instead, I'm like, all right, well, I'm out. You know, I've got my own toys that are not broken. And they're like, oh, we're sorry, you could play with a new toy. And I'm like, oh, you go fuck yourself. However I said that when I was a kid. And here I didn't think I was going to get enough time to talk to my camera today. They're doing road construction. These flaggers do not give a damn about people passing through this road. I watched them shut down this road earlier. They're like, oh, we'll be doing stuff here for a while. I'm like, yeah, but he's over there right now doing stuff. Like, this guy's not coming back out for a bit. The guy's like, no. I'll still block the traffic while we wait for this guy to finish up. He'll be back in about 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't think I'm giving up on being a hermit or anything. Like, oh my God, he is going to let us go, because that guy is going to be there for 5 minutes, son of a bitch. Yeah, I don't think I'm giving up being a hermit all of a sudden, but it is interesting, and it is nice to know where those behaviors come from. The more I figure out about why I'm so weird, the better is what I think.